Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story about how a due date and wedding plans collided, creating unexpected drama. OP and her husband faced a dilemma when their first child's birth aligned with her brother-in-law's wedding, planned despite OP's due date disclosure. Tensions escalated as the bride-to-be accused OP of controlling behavior, even spilling news of the pregnancy prematurely. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. My sister-in-law wants my husband to skip our baby's birth for her wedding. Right now, I'm expecting our first child. My husband's brother recently proposed to his 4-month girlfriend, and they intend to get married when I am 38 weeks along. About 7 hours separate their life from ours. Although everyone else seems to enjoy his fiancée, I absolutely dislike her because of some very off-target remarks she made during the burial for my mother-in-law. I'm trying to get along with her anyhow. Though cool, this is a chance for me to truly get to know her and maybe be friends beyond the first time I met her when she asked me to be her bridal party guest. She hadn't decided the date yet, but I informed her I was pregnant and when I was due, and that while I wouldn't want her to plan her wedding around me, my husband and I also wouldn't be able to make it should it fall near my due date. They decided on the date. She inquired about clothes for me when I informed her we would not be able to make it, even if we would be quite delighted for her. She inquired why, and I reiterated what I told her before she decided on the date, that I couldn't go far late in pregnancy. She had a meltdown. She maintained that since it was only a 7-hour drive, barring traffic, I could still come. If I missed it, my husband had to still come since it was his brother. Since this is our first child, my husband will miss the birth of our child to attend anyone's wedding, or I will not be doing it alone should I go into labor. She branded me selfish for missing her wedding and said that if only my husband hadn't gone, we wouldn't have spoken again. Now anxious, my husband wants to be with his brother, but knows he could conceivably miss the birth of his first kid if he leaves me and I go into labor. The bit about ensuring he and his brother avoid a relationship, although they've always been close, also fuels his fire. She texted every member of the family group chat that I was abusive and controlling for not allowing my husband to attend their wedding without background stating I didn't like her. Since I'm in my first trimester, I'd not intended to inform all of our extended relatives we were pregnant. Our phones have been running off for hours with texts about setting our pettiness aside to be happy for the couple. My husband replied back stating I am not forcing him to do anything, except we agreed not to tell everyone we were pregnant yet. Those who know I'm pregnant and would be near my due date also advise I should at least let my spouse go. At the 39-week point, my mother labored for just 3 hours with me and 1 hour with my sister. Her mother likewise had a brief delivery, thus I find great difficulty in leaving our city to travel such a great distance during the last weeks of my first pregnancy. Update. My husband told the family members that contacted us personally the circumstances, including the knowledge sister-in-law was advised of our due date and that we wouldn't be able to attend should they choose a wedding date near to it. When his brother phoned him at last, he chatted with him personally, and from what he knew that he was at work, future sister-in-law was not around. My husband clarified that he stayed with me entirely at will and had a heart-to-heart conversation about which a lot of work was done. The ultimatum startled his brother. He apologized for his fiancée's actions, explaining they allegedly recently suffered a miscarriage, unknown to us, and she most likely was expressing her feelings, including envy on me. Since sister-in-law had not signed a contract with any suppliers yet, he also advised my husband that he was going to speak with sister-in-law and change the date. Since we're near, he claimed he truly wants us there and will either advance the wedding or postpone it. So after all, I suppose we might be attending the wedding. I told my husband at this point he can be a groomsman, but I absolutely would not be part of the bridal party since I wanted her to express her emotions on me during her pregnancy while she is wedding preparations. I think your husband handled this well, clarifying your stance, supporting you, and having a mature conversation with his brother. It's a relief that the brother seems reasonable and willing to adjust the wedding date. Future sister-in-law's apology, or lack thereof, might dictate how your relationship evolves, but removing yourself from the bridal party seems like a smart move. At the end of the day, your health and your baby's safety come first. Weddings can be rescheduled, births can't. And our second story. I drove 35 minutes for a job interview, only to be told to go home. Although I already have a job, I felt it to be worth investigating what else is available. I came over a job advertising on Indeed 1 week ago, paid excellent, sounded like a great gig, and is work I enjoy doing. The sole drawback is that the commute from town takes 35 minutes. The business owner, via Indeed email, appeared like a nice man during our good talk. I clarified that I work daily from 7 a.m. to 3:10 p.m. and that his shop is somewhat far from me. Could I get together with him at 3:30, he asked, since I was done at 3:10 and can't complete a 35-minute commute in less than 20 minutes. I informed him it's not feasible. I gave him my phone number just in case something changed. I indicated that I would be leaving town at 3:10 to come visit him and that I would see him when I got there, probably around 3:40-ish. We left on a friendly one. Driven quite quickly, I arrived at 3:37, pleased to have arrived in less than 35 minutes. I show there, business came to an end. I get out of my car to look as I figured he was someplace close by. I turned to find two youngsters handling some supplies on my left. Approaching them, I explained that I had a meeting with their boss right now and asked where his boss was at. Then one of them tells me he just left a few minutes ago but could call back to see me. Saying who I am, etc., he calls his supervisor. The teenage laughs and says, "Okay," with a "you gotta be effing kidding me" expression and hangs up. Teenager to me, he says, "Go home." I invited him to go back and repeat. He said, "Go home," this time laughing uneasily. I'm really annoyed as I have another 35 minutes driving ahead of me. Instead of driving the gravel road back onto the highway, the direction I came in from, I chose to leave him a present to remember me by, some donut tire skid tracks on his front lawn as I tore away from there. 30 minutes after that, he felt the need to reach out to me and introduce himself via private number, but I let it go to voicemail as I was driving, which upon listening later on further proved to me all his negative Google reviews were more likely all true and that this person isn't someone you should do business with anyway. Wow, talk about dodging a bullet. That guy's behavior screams unprofessionalism. And the fact that he not only stood you up, but also dismissed you through a teenage messenger is a massive red flag. Honestly, it seems like he had zero respect for your time and effort. The donut skid marks might have been a bit petty, but hey, sometimes you've got to leave a lasting impression, right? What really seals it is his follow-up via private number. If his voicemail was as unprofessional as it sounds, then you clearly made the right call not to entertain this any further. Chalk this up to a waste of gas, but a valuable lesson in avoiding toxic workplaces before you're in too deep. And our last story. I filed a lawsuit against my neighbor who was trespassing on my property. I own a 15-acre property in the countryside, a peaceful retreat with a river running along one side. It's my sanctuary, and I spent a lot of money to call it mine. The property's fenced off with a metal barrier installed years ago by the previous owner. To avoid any misunderstandings, I added new no trespassing signs when I moved in. But my neighbor, let's call him Jerry, had no respect for boundaries. His property is much smaller, but he seemed to think mine was an extension of his backyard. One day, while fishing near the river, I spotted Jerry walking his dog deep on my side of the fence. He didn't just cross over near the property line, he was right by the water where I'd set up my gear. I approached him and politely pointed out that he was trespassing. Instead of apologizing, he got aggressive. He yelled that I had no right to fence off community land and bragged that his dad was the local police chief. As if to prove his point, he let his dog chew through my bait bag before stomping off. I called the police, but without clear proof, they didn't do much. That's when I decided to take things into my own hands. First, I upgraded the fence along the entire property line, adding reinforced steel and replacing the faded signs with new ones that read, "Private property, no trespassing." I also installed trail cameras to capture any future shenanigans. The cameras uploaded everything directly to my phone, so I'd have solid evidence if Jerry trespassed again. A week later, I found the new fence completely destroyed. Sections had been yanked out of the ground, the steel bent, and some of the new signs were ripped off entirely. Checking my camera footage, I saw Jerry smashing the fence with a sledgehammer, then letting his dog roam freely on my land. This wasn't just trespassing, it was vandalism. Instead of confronting him, I forwarded the footage to my lawyer. We filed a civil suit against him for property damage, trespassing, and vandalism. Meanwhile, I had the fence repaired and added an even stronger barrier near the river, just in case. When Jerry found out about the lawsuit, he tried to retaliate by filing a countersuit, claiming I'd provoked him by unfairly blocking access to the river. He even accused me of harassment because of the new cameras and signs. But when we went to court, the judge wasn't having any of it. The footage spoke for itself. Jerry was caught red-handed destroying my fence and trespassing multiple times. His excuses about community land and unfair access fell apart when my lawyer presented the official property survey and documentation of the damages. The judge ruled in my favor and ordered Jerry to pay $30,000 in damages, legal fees, and fence repairs. As if that wasn't satisfying enough, the case brought Jerry's antics to the attention of the community, and it didn't take long for his dad to step down as police chief under the cloud of his son's behavior. Since then, Jerry's kept far away from my property, the new fence is standing strong, and my fishing trips are finally peaceful again. Sometimes karma just needs a little nudge to make things right. Wow, Jerry really thought he could bulldoze over property rights like they were suggestions? I can't imagine the gall of vandalizing someone's fence and treating their land like his personal park. Your methodical response was perfect, upgrading the fence, setting up cameras, and letting the legal system do the heavy lifting. That $30,000 judgment must have stung, but honestly, it's a light price for him compared to the hit his reputation took, especially with his dad stepping down. If I were you, I'd sit by the river enjoying the peace, knowing Jerry's backyard ambitions are permanently fenced out, literally and legally. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.